Manchester United can't shake off this tag of, I don't know, going behind and collapsing, can they? I mean, I watched the game back overnight, and they were okay again, and then they conceded a goal, and then they just cannot find a way through a stubborn Crystal Palace. I thought some of the team selections were wrong yesterday, once again. First 15 minutes at 86% possession, 4 shots on goal. So they were in the game, but I don't know. It's just a head scratcher, isn't it now? Because it's becoming a perennial problem.
Yeah, and listening to Erik Ten Hag with Mickey Gray after the game, I'm starting to feel like even he doesn't know the solution to the problem, and that he's becoming very exasperated, because I think everybody felt after that gritty win at Burnley last weekend, followed up by an emphatic victory over Palace in the Cup in midweek. I know Palace were poor and made numerous changes, but it felt like a corner was being turned. Players were coming back from injury, and it's all been punctured by what happened against Palace yesterday. I described that result and the performance as an abomination. There's no way that Manchester United should be losing 1-0 at home to Crystal Palace when you look at the talent that was out on that pitch. Yes, I think Ten Hag made some mistakes.
For Crystal Palace, though.
Yeah, well, no. Listen, if Manchester United want to kick on this season from what they achieved last season, you have to be beating
And the other thing
Palace
is there's no more excuses about all the injured players.
Exactly.
Because Højlund's playing up front, Mount's back in midfield, Casemiro's starting, Varane's back and available, and so is Maguire and other players too. Onana's in goal now. This is what you wanted. He's got Amrabat started yesterday, although be it at left back. I watched the game. I said to you, I watched the game. I couldn't believe how bad Casemiro was, how bad Rashford was in the game. I mean, why has he not started with Garnacho? Garnacho played himself into form, did the work that he was asked to do, even though he hadn't done that previously, and he came on against Bayern Munich, did okay, did very well against Crystal Palace. You would have said to him, go on, have another go. Take Rashford out of the firing line. He's offering very little.
I agree, and you know that I've been a big defender of Erik Ten Hag. I think most Manchester United fans are still behind the manager. They see that the problems go a lot deeper at that football club than the person who was in the dugout. But I do think he made mistakes, and not just with the players that you've talked about. I think Harry Maguire, with his assured performance against Palace in the week, played his way into the starting 11. I don't understand why Lindelof comes back in.
Did you watch the goal as well? I mean, you watch Lindelof for the goal. He absolutely gets bullied by Anderson, who just shrugs him off and then moves off into space, swivels and scores. And Lindelof didn't even have a clue where he was.
I'm looking at this Man United side, and you saying about Andre Onana is supposed to be this big character, isn't he? He's going to bring leadership qualities to the dressing room and on the pitch. Rafael Varane, who's won the World Cup, right? So you think, right, going to be a leader. You mentioned Casemiro. What's he won? 5 Champions Leagues, right? So going to be a leader. Bruno Fernandes, who's the captain. So through that spine, you're supposed to have senior players there that are going to help those younger players around them, right? They went missing yesterday. And with Ten Hag at half-time, when you're 1-0 down at half-time, managers don't have any excuses now for not making changes at half-time.
Because none at all. So many windows in which to do it.
Exactly, right. Because you've got windows, you've got 5 subs. So from the midweek game against Burnley, why don't he goes, right, Hannibal, you go on. Yeah. You run around. Garnacho, you run around. And McTominay, you go and run around and try and get some impetus into which was a lacklustre Manchester United side.
I think you're spot on about the lack of leaders. There aren't any leaders in that team. They've got no backbone. And the number of times that they start games well, fall behind, and then wilt is becoming a problem. And it's a big problem that Erik Ten Hag needs to solve pretty quickly.
Compare that to the way that Liverpool behave, because they go behind a lot and then come back and drag themselves back into games.
And also, there was a caller on talkSPORT last night. He suggested that Liverpool played better with 9 men against Spurs, showed more fight, more determination, more character than United did with 11. And you can't argue with that. Marcus Rashford had a wonderful season last year. Played his way back into the England team, scored a lot of important goals for Manchester United, got that big new contract, and nobody was complaining when he got that contract. I'm really disappointed in Marcus Rashford. Well, the way that he has regressed, and I think this was an opportunity for Ten Hag, after what happened in midweek, to make an example of Rashford and say, do you know what? You're not playing well enough to get your place in this team. I'm going to start Garnacho, and I'm going to start Pellistri, Højlund up front, because they've earned the right. Marcus Rashford thinks he's got a God-given right to be the main man in that Manchester United team, and he's not producing performances to back it up. The best thing that can happen for Marcus Rashford is that Gareth Southgate sees his performances, doesn't name him in the England squad on Thursday, picks someone like Jarrod Bowen instead, and he has a long, hard look at himself and realises that he's wasting his talent. And he's wasting Manchester United's time with the performances that he's putting in.